Riley Whitson is Director of Marketing Communications for my favorite tool, Plan to Eat. She has worked for Plan to Eat for the last 7 years, and in that time has held many different roles and holds a certification in meal planning. She's a mom of a feisty 2-year-old little girl, and over the last 2 years, she has discovered just exactly how important meal planning is to the life of a family. So welcome, Riley.
Hi, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad that you could do this with us today. So that told us a little bit about you, but why don't you fill in some blanks? Maybe tell us where you're from and how you even ended up at Plan to Eat.
Awesome. So I'm actually from Alabama originally. And then after college, I moved to Colorado. And that's where I live now. That's where Plan to Eat is based. All of my coworkers, we all work remotely, but we're all in the same general area. So,
okay.
Yeah, I met the founder of Plan to Eat, Clint, at a coffee shop. I worked at a coffee shop and met him there. It's a pretty long story, but the brief version is just that we connected because I was actually a personal chef for someone else. We met through that, and then he asked me to start working for him and doing support because of my experience with cooking and food and that kind of thing, because Plan to Eat is all about meal planning and cooking. And then from there, I worked part-time, and then I went full-time, and then over time, it's just evolved. And so I did support for a really long time, and then I moved into a marketing role, which is what I do now, and I love it.
That's fabulous. So how old is Plan to Eat? How long has the company been around?
Let's see. It was founded in 2009.
Okay.
I started working for Plan to Eat in 2014.
Okay. So a little older than I actually realized. So
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So this is a bit different than some of the interviews that I've done in the past because we're actually going to talk about a specific tool. And it's one that honestly, I think every mompreneur should be using. So maybe let's start by talking about why meal planning. You kind of alluded to it in your bio as being important to family life, but maybe tell me why meal planning is so important.
Yeah, it's a really big question, I think.
It's only four words. I mean, what do you mean?
So meal planning there's so many benefits, which I'll go into a little bit more in a minute. But I think that one of the biggest, particularly for mompreneurs, I love that word. When you know what's for dinner, it removes a task from your to-do list. And I don't know about all of your listeners, but I have to get things out of my brain to feel like I can accomplish anything. And so just getting something done and accomplished, like I know what's for dinner, so that when 5 o'clock or 5:30 rolls around, I'm not having to stress out about that too. So if my day was stressful, or if kids were stressful, or if work, whatever the stresses are, that doesn't have to be a stressor, which for me is really a big deal.
Yes. Yeah. And if we're honest, what's for dinner is more than a task or it's a loaded, heavy, there's just a lot of weight behind that question and that decision.
It is. And depending on your situation, it can be more stressful or less stressful. If your child has a food allergy, you have to be thinking about what that looks like. If your husband starts a new diet, we have all these different things that play into it. And then just thinking through the nutritional aspects of food and not just throwing something on the table that you didn't think about. All those things play into what's for dinner. And so it's really helpful to know the answer to that question.
Yes. Well, that's great. Well, why don't you give us a brief overview of exactly what Plan to Eat is? And we'll go into it in a little more detail. So just give us kind of the high level overview of what is this tool.
Perfect. So Plan to Eat is a digital meal planner. You can access it through your browser on your computer, through your tablets, through your iPads, or through your phone. We have an app also. And then you start with a recipe book. And that recipe book is actually blank. So you get to add all the recipes that fit your needs, your family's needs, and your preferences. We don't tell you what to eat because we don't know what's right for you. And so this allows you to build a recipe book that is perfect for your family and your preferences. We have tools to make that easier, like a recipe clipper that allows you to go around the web and just click one button and recipes are automatically imported into your account. From there, you can add those recipes to a planner. So we literally have a planner in your account. You can drag and drop recipes onto it and build out a meal plan that fits your schedule. My favorite part is the shopping list, and it is calculated automatically. So all the ingredients in your recipes that are on your planner are populated into a shopping list. So you take that list to the store and you get everything you need. Everything that was in your recipes is on the list.
That's beautiful. And so you got into this because you loved to cook.
Mm-hmm.
I got into this because I hate to cook. And I enjoy meal planning even less than the actual cooking. So my poor husband, when we were first married, he'd be like, "What's for dinner?" I'm like, "Chicken." And we'd sit down and there'd be a piece of chicken. And he's like, "Anything else?" I'm like, "Nope, chicken. That's what you get." So, he has suffered with me or stayed with me, patiently waited through a lot of this stuff. But it really became a point of contention with us because he wanted more in a meal and it was just so much work. And I was looking for the easiest way possible. So when I discovered Plan to Eat almost exactly 6 years ago, it really changed everything for me. So let's go through all those pieces one at a time that we were just talking about. But let's start with that recipe book and let's talk about what really makes it unique and usable.
Mm-hmm. The recipe book is really customizable. I think that's one of the biggest things about Plan to Eat is that whether you want really simple tools or whether you want really advanced tools, we offer everything. So the recipe book allows you, like I said, to customize a recipe book, add recipes that fits your needs. You can add them manually. You can add them with our recipe clipper. If you've been using another program in the past to hold your recipes, if they offer an export, you can even import a group of recipes from another program. So the recipe book can be built out pretty fast. I know that it's a pretty overwhelming thing to hear that there's no recipes, but I think that the tools that we have in there to add recipes really make it so simple to do it. So we recommend that people just start adding 1 or 2 family favorites a day. And that could take literally a minute out of your day to add 2 recipes. Or if you're starting for the very first time, maybe add 4. So you've got 4 meals that week. And it just happens really fast to build out a recipe book. You can create courses. So you can have dinner or appetizers or baking or desserts or whatever your favorite categories of meals are. All of them are customized so that you can have groups of them in your recipe book. So when you're searching for recipes, you don't have to search so hard. It's not so difficult to find them. You're not wading through thousands just by scrolling.
Right.
We also have some filtering options. So if you happen to have some chicken at home and you want to cook something with that chicken, you can search chicken in your recipe book, and then all the recipes with chicken come up. So it makes it really easy to find recipes. And one thing about that filtering option that I love is just that it helps keep things more exciting, because I can get into meal planning ruts where I cook the same things all the time. So searching by a different ingredient really helps me mix it up a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. And you mentioned this in the overview, the recipe clipper.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I am not a Pinterest person. For whatever reason, every time I click on a link on Pinterest, it's a dead link. So I quit using Pinterest. But this recipe clipper takes that idea of pinning a recipe, but you're pulling it right into your recipe book so you can find it easily. So that was amazing to me, how simple it was to save a recipe and find it again later.
Yeah, one thing that we really love about that is that, I have Pinterest boards of endless recipes, and I never use them because they're just holding in Pinterest. And so the recipe clipper really allows you to add those recipes into a tool like Plan to Eat. So then you can actually utilize them and plan them and cook them and eat them, which I know all those recipe authors, that's their hope, right? Is that they're not just saved as a bookmark or saved as a pin on Pinterest. They really want people to cook and eat them. And so I think Plan to Eat is a really helpful tool in that way, because it helps get them into a usable format. You've got all the ingredients, you've got the directions, you even have notes on those recipes, and you can plan them and actually eat them and enjoy different kinds of meals all the time.
Yes. And we love that you can rate the recipes, and, like my family can say, "Ooh, this was a good one. Do it again." So 5 stars, that one, or whatever. I forget how many there are there, but we will rate them so that when I go through, I can go, "Oh yeah, they liked this one," or they didn't care for this one, but it's good for them. And so there's a lot in that recipe piece that is really useful.
We could talk about the recipe book, the planner, and the shopping list for 3 hours each.
Right.
So many features. I love the rating option. You can search by rating too to find the ones that are your favorites. I tend to delete the ones that aren't favorites so that I don't even have to worry about them. But I also have a course called Recipes We Love. And that's where it doesn't matter if it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, appetizers, they all go into this one category that I've named Recipes We Love, so that I just can go there, especially when I'm in a place of needing to just find something that I know is a winner. I'll just go to that little section. Oh, we love that. Let me make that. So
yeah, that's great.
Option too.
Well, the recipe section is awesome. And honestly, when we started to change how we ate, and I didn't know how to start. So a friend of mine was like, well, sign up for Plan to Eat and share my recipes. And that to me was gold, being able to friend other people and see their recipes as well. And so that's what really sold it to me. But then I saw how easy it was to actually plan my dinners. I mostly do dinners, but you could do all the meals. So tell us a little bit more about the planning.
Yeah. I just want to make a quick note about the friends section.
Yeah.
If you can find a friend to be your like meal planning buddy, I highly recommend it. It's so helpful to be able to share recipes, like you just said, get connected and share recipes. You can even share menus. If you've made menus and we're friends on Plan to Eat, I can access them and add them to my planner. But being able to text somebody and just say, I don't know what to have for dinner. What should I make? And they say, oh, well, on my plan, I've got Tuscan chicken. Oh, that sounds great. So then it just helps you kind of alleviate some of the burden around planning, I think, when you're sharing it with a friend.
Yes. And just to get, like, you can get in a rut with planning, you can get in a rut with what you look for too. And so sometimes when you see what other people are clipping, you're like, oh, yes, that's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. So the planner, like I said, it's a calendar. So it's dated. You can look at it as a week, or you can look at it as a whole month. I tend to look at it as a whole month, even though I usually plan week by week. And then you can view your recipes on the left-hand side. And there's a little handle icon. You can drag them over. That's on the desktop site. On the app, you can just tap on a date and then add a recipe. Really easy. It's just a couple of clicks to add a recipe that way on the app. And you can build out a meal plan. Like you, I tend to plan dinners mostly. My husband is a firefighter, so he works a shift schedule. So I typically only cook 3 nights a week. But I will I'll double the serving sizes, which is another amazing feature of Plan to Eat. When you're on the planner, you can view the serving sizes, and if something is set for 4, I might change it to 8 because I know I want to eat that again this week, or whether that's for lunches or for dinner. We eat a lot of leftovers over here because it's helpful for me to have some nights where I'm not cooking.
Yes.
And just have something that I can have really fast, particularly for a busy family like we are. So
yeah. And I like to, in the meal planner, you can add notes or you can add standalone ingredients. So if you're like, I've got this recipe, but I also want, a salad to go with it. You can add that in, which really gives a lot of that even more flexibility. So you're not just tied to a recipe. You can really build out a meal and a menu for something a lot more simply.
Absolutely. I love notes in the ingredient notes also. I use them all the time. I use them for meals that we don't need recipes for. Maybe I picked up a rotisserie chicken. We're going to have some green beans and rolls or something. That doesn't need a recipe. I can just type it in as an ingredient note. Those ingredients populate on my shopping list. So I can remove them if I've already bought them, if it's something that I had on hand, or they're there as a reminder that I need to purchase those things. And then I also love the notes for building out my schedule. So if I know one night we're going to, I think that it's okay to give yourself permission to plan to have takeout.
Absolutely.
One of the benefits of planning is that it helps you save money because you are sticking to a shopping list that's exactly what you need. You're not eating out all the time because you didn't know what was for dinner.
Right.
But giving myself permission to know, okay, this night of the week, we're going to get takeout, or this night we're meeting friends for dinner, any of those kinds of things, or we're having dinner at a friend's house, or whatever it is, I can add that as a note onto my planner. So I'm prepared. I know it's coming. And then I don't have to have planned a meal, buy the ingredients for it, and then they go to waste because we didn't actually eat at home that night.
Right.
You can freeze them. There are things you can do to not waste it. But I just like to know, and I like to see it all in one place.
Yeah. Yeah. I call that pizza on purpose. So,
I love that. That's great.
yeah. So I think that the meal planning piece is really, really useful, and it does help. It helps you match up your calendar to because you might be home that night, but you're not home all day. So now, I got to plan something that's going to be on timer delay in the Instant Pot or slow cook all day, or we're going to plan our pizza for that night because we're not going to, be home to prep anything. So it really does help. And while that is great, and that was a really good feature as far as I was concerned, the shopping list is what sealed the deal for me. Because my husband will not take a piece of paper into the grocery store. If I give him a list, he won't take it in. He'll try to remember it. And if I text him something, he will forget something on it. But because A, it's cloud-based, so it catches up in real time, and B, he had it on an app on his phone, he was much more likely to tap as he purchased things. So tell us a little bit more about how those recipes and the meal planning all pull in together into that shopping list.
Yep. So the shopping list, like I said in the beginning, is one of my favorite features too. If I write it on a piece of paper, because occasionally I'll still do that because it's just like two things,
Yeah.
I'll leave it at home every single time.
Yep.
And every time I do that, I learn my lesson. I think I've learned it. I'm like, why did I not put it in Plan to Eat? Because it was two things, but I could only remember one or whatever it is. Yep. So the shopping list, it's connected to your planner. So you can set the date inside the shopping list to match your meal plan dates. So whether you plan from this Tuesday to 2 Tuesdays from now, or this Tuesday to Friday, whatever it is, you can choose that date range. And then the shopping list pulls in all of those ingredients that are listed in your recipes. Any ingredient notes that you may have added, it's all there. And this is also organized by category. So it's listed by dairy or produce or meat or freezer section, all of those different sections of your grocery store. And it pulls the correct ingredients into those sections. And then it even merges items that match. So maybe you have two different chopped onion and an onion. Well, you can merge those. If they both say onion, they'll merge into little sections or merge totals. So all your totals are listed. I hope this is making sense. I feel like I'm talking about it a little bit backwards, but no. All the totals and the ingredients come into the shopping list. So let's think. If you have 2 cups of flour in one recipe and 1 cup of flour in another and a half a cup in another, all of those totals will merge and calculate so that you need, I'm not sure how many I said, but let's say 3
so 4.5,
4.5 cups
whatever,
of flour. I should have been doing the math better when I was.
It does it for you. So why would you have needed to?
Exactly. It does it for me, so I don't have to think about it. It eliminates that brain fatigue, and it's totaled, and I know that I can buy exactly what I need. This is another element that helps you save money. If your grocery store has, a section where you can buy things in bulk, you could even do, like, say you needed 5 cups of oatmeal and you don't eat oatmeal otherwise. Well, then you can just buy the 5 cups of oats that you need, and you're not spending extra to buy extra product.
Yes.
It also helps if you're having friends over or something like that, and you've duplicated a recipe so your ingredient totals are double. You're buying enough to feed those people. So you needed 17 chicken breasts to feed the whole family or whatever it is. You're buying enough, and you're not buying too much, which helps cut down on waste.
Yes. So the fact that you can do it by date span, that was huge for us too, because I could plan for 2 weeks or a month at a time and not waste something because we inadvertently bought it now when I didn't need it for a week and a half and it was going to spoil. But the other thing is that is now our core shopping list, and we've added all the stores. And so, even if it's not food related, we've got a Home Depot on there, and we put things there that we need when we're at Home Depot. So it's become the shopping list.
Yeah, that is such a good thing to bring up because you can add your stores. So if you shop at Walmart and Costco and Aldi or whatever your stores are. You can
Yeah.
customize them, and then make sure all the ingredients that you buy at those different stores are listed in the correct place. It's really helpful to have them pre-done,
Yeah.
All my things that I buy at Costco go into the Costco store. So then when I'm at the Kroger or whatever it is, I'm not having to wade through, oh, do I buy that here? Do I buy that somewhere else? Because I've, previously seen where it was cheaper or whatnot.
Right.
It's super helpful to do that.
Yes, and occasionally I'll put it in both places, and I'll say we're going to Aldi first, and eggs are on sale for 97 cents at this other store. So if the price is the same or better, buy them here. Otherwise, save it. So sometimes we'll do that. But the other thing I did one time, and it worked really, really well until the store remodeled, but I took note of the order. It was an Aldi. And so I took note of the order everything was. And so I actually created aisle 1 bakery, aisle 1 canned, all these things in order so that my shopping list showed up in the order that I walked through the store. And I wasn't going back and forth. But then they remodeled and I never fixed it. But if you have a store you go to all the time, that's just another thing you can customize to save even more time as you're shopping there. So I talk a lot about systems here, systems that work for you. But I also talk about the fact that sometimes as moms, we are the bottleneck to something happening and we want to make sure that we're not. And so when it came to that grocery list, that shopping list, I was definitely the bottleneck to that. And because of Plan to Eat, now, when anybody in our family says, we're out of such and such, my answer is add it to Plan to Eat. And if they don't do it, we don't buy it. And so it's not on me anymore. So how does a family who has, teenagers and, multiple adults or whatever, how can you use Plan to Eat as a family and access it and share it?
That's a great question. We don't require you don't have to buy multiple logins to Plan to Eat. Your account is your account across the board. We don't have a limit on the number of people who can download it to their device. So if your kids have devices, if your husband has a device, which in 2022 we all do, right?
Everyone does, right? 3. We all have 3 or 4.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can download that to your device, and then your kids can add stuff to the list. Sometimes if my husband adds it, he'll add a note next to his name, because on the shopping list, you can add tons of ingredients. Like you just mentioned, you can add tons of extras. And in the notes section, he'll say his name. And so it helps me know that he added it. And it's something that if he has a particular brand he likes, or if I'm buying him shampoo or soap or something, I know to buy him the one he likes. So that's another really helpful thing. I know people who will have their kids cook for them. And so having the app, all they have to do is go to the planner, and mom says, well, it's Tuesday. What's on Tuesday? That Tuscan chicken. Okay, you open it up and then they can cook because the recipe is all there. The steps are all listed. And there's, it's just really helpful that they can do that. If I know people who will even say, go into the recipe book and tell me what looks good. And then you can plan those meals that they think look great. And it does help if you can spread out the workload of cooking. If you have a bunch of kids, or if your kids are older, sharing that burden across the family is really helpful.
Yes, that's true. And the one thing neither of us have mentioned so far is that you can now take that shopping list and you can export it to another through an interface so that you can schedule it for grocery pickup or delivery. And so this is really, like, I remember going, if it shopped for me, it would be perfect. And then I was like, it shops for me now.
Yes, I did intend to mention that. It is probably one of my favorite features. It's so helpful to be able to do that. One thing that I will say about the shopping list is that we recommend that people shop at home before they shop in the store. And if you add that to your workflow, then you've planned the meals. Then you go to your house and do I have the taco seasoning that this recipe calls for? Do I need to buy flour? Do I have enough? Do I have enough eggs for this week, or do I need to buy more? Did we run out of something else that we love that we need that's not on our meal plan? If it's a kid snack or something like that, and then really get that list narrowed down to exactly what it is that you need to buy. And then you can use the grocery delivery feature to send it to your store for pickup or delivery. If you're lucky enough to have it delivered to your house, that just cuts it down even more. We live quite a ways from a grocery store, so I do the pickup option, but saves me so much time. And
Yeah.
it actually saves me a lot of money because I'm not perusing the store and seeing something that looks good,
Right.
that's, not on the meal plan. So it just helps me. I
Yeah.
just buy exactly what I need. They put it in my car and I drive home. It's perfect.
Yeah, and we joke that sometimes I get delivery even though I order pickup because I'll be like, "Hey, honey, you're going to be over there. I'll schedule the pickup and you pick it up and bring it to me." So it can help with when you've got other drivers in the family that can help out too. It can make it a lot easier to grocery shop without taking that time out of your day or week.
Mm-hmm.
So you said in your bio that becoming a mom really opened your eyes to the importance of meal planning. So maybe tell me a little bit more about that. What did you see differently after becoming a mom than you saw before when you enjoyed cooking and were acting as a personal chef?
Yeah. You know, I think that life change is a big reason why people start to meal plan.
Mm.
I started working for Plan to Eat before I was married, and it became a tool that I really loved and used in my meal planning or in my personal chef business,
Mm-hmm.
to help me know what to buy for the meals that I was making for other people. And it was really helpful. And then I got married, and then it was even more helpful to like know what was for dinner. We live a little bit further from town now that we're married, and so. But I think the thing about having a kid is that there were nights when I would still tell my husband, let's just wing it. We're going to eat there's 3 different kinds of leftovers. Just pick whatever you want, eat that, or fend for yourself if I wasn't home. And so there's still an element of like, while I was planning, I was still a little bit lax in it sometimes. And we were willing to, wing it a little bit more. And then having a child now who is 2, so she's eating what we eat. She can't wing it quite as well as we can, and she eats. It's really important for me that she eats what we eat. I'm not cooking more than one meal every night.
Right.
But as she's grown up in her ability to eat different things, no teeth to teeth, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's customized what I cook for us. Is it too spicy for her? Is it not? All of those kinds of things. And then also, it's important to have dinner on a schedule. She's a really scheduled little girl, and it's really helpful for us that she's like that. She likes to eat at a certain time, and then she goes to bed at a certain time. And so having a meal plan, knowing what I'm having for dinner, it allows me to just cook it and then keep us on schedule. That helps me a whole lot. I think that also planning helps me being really intentional about the foods that we eat. And so having a nutritious meal for her is really important to me. It's not that it wasn't important for me before. It's just changed a little bit. Having all the things, the colors on her plate or the different types of foods to introduce her to things all the time, having a meal plan helps me do that a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And like I said in the beginning, it does alleviate that task from my plate. And I'm not stressed out when dinner rolls around because I've got a grumpy kid or my day was busy. I just know. And so knowing really alleviates stress, and it helps me. I did the work in advance. So that nutritious meal was planned. The ingredients were purchased in my grocery order. And then we have it to make. So there's no question marks. It's there and it's ready.
Yeah, that's great. And one of the habits I have implemented is when I'm making dinner tonight, I'm looking ahead to tomorrow to see if I need to thaw anything so that I'm not caught off guard. Because even though I know, sometimes I've still been caught off guard because I didn't look ahead. And so it really has taken a lot of the surprises away. And even for my family, if they say, what's for dinner? That's again my answer. What's in plan to eat? Like, you look it up,
Yeah.
So that's good. And it's true. If you want to be intentional with any of it, the fruits, the veggies, the finger foods, whatever it is, you have to plan to eat it. You have to have it in the house to eat. Which means you had to shop. And so it all sort of, trickles down to when you know in advance and you know it and can be intentional, then you can just pull it out and provide it. And it's a whole different level of stress. It impresses all the other moms when they're like, oh, how did you do this so easily? Well, so plan to eat is your secret weapon for impressing every other mom.
Yeah, I love what you just said about being able to look ahead. at the week and what's coming up, and knowing, if you have a busy day the next day and you're gone all day, you throw it in the Instant Pot, you throw it in the crock pot. And if at dinner the night before, you're not freaking out at 7:10 because you need to leave at 7:15 and dinner wasn't in the crock pot. You remembered the night before that you needed to do it, and you built it into your plan. And if any alleviation of stress is helpful for me. So
yes, absolutely. Well, there's probably a mom listening who is saying something like, well, I don't like to be pigeonholed by the rigidity of meal planning, and I want to make what I feel like making when I feel like making it. So how would you tell her how meal planning and Plan to Eat could actually give her some more space for spontaneity?
This is a great question. I love it. So like I said, I only plan 3 nights a week, roughly, maybe 4. And I think unless you are doing the thawing out, or unless you're doing a crock pot meal for a busy day, Plan to Eat does give you a lot of flexibility to move the meals around within the week. Just because you planned it on a Tuesday doesn't mean you have to have it on Tuesday. You can look at your week and say, okay, well, this doesn't sound good, but the meal I planned on Friday sounds a lot better. And because you already bought all the ingredients, you're not going back to the store. You have it purchased. All you have to do is make the other meal and switch them. You can switch them on your planner or mentally switch them. You don't even have to do anything.
Right.
Just know you had the burritos on Tuesday because that sounded better, and you moved the veggie salad to Friday, or whatever your changes are. And hopefully that does help you feel like you have some wiggle room within your meal plan. You could plan for longer. You could plan for 2 weeks at a time. And then you have a lot more flexibility in moving different meals around. Another thing that I always like to do is I always have ingredients for an extra meal on hand. Whether those ingredients are in the freezer or whether they're canned goods or something along those lines, I always have an extra meal on hand because things happen where, I wasn't planning to be home tonight. Well, now we've got to eat something. Mm-hmm. And so having those ingredients on hand allow me to spontaneously put that meal on the planner and have that. So for that mom who knows there's something that they love, have those ingredients on hand. Hopefully most of them are freezable, or they use ingredients that you continuously have around. Mm-hmm. And then that way you've got that, that meal to pull onto the planner, or just to make in that space of like, oh, well, we didn't know we were going to have, and this sounds good. And we have it because we love that meal.
Yeah. Or people are here for this long play date. Let's just invite them to stay for dinner, So you have a lot of flexibility. And I do love it for that, because that's what I have felt. I have felt I can come up with a plan, but I can flex and move it around. And sometimes I'll still make the dinner, even though I know we might not eat it. And then I will freeze it. And then now it's in my arsenal for something later. If it's something perishable that is going to go bad if I don't make it. So it is a great, great tool. And so I'm really thankful that you've taken the time to give us these overviews. You guys have a great series of videos too, that really go into how to use it and how to use it well. So I know you support newbies, and those of us who have used it for a while, we're always discovering that you're adding new features or honing things to make them a little more specific to needs that your customers are saying, hey, can you do this? So I think that's great.
Yeah, we love our customers, and we are always trying to improve the program, whether that's providing more videos or live Q&As, or whether it's adding new features. We really love to do the things that are helpful. I think I said this in the beginning, but Plan to Eat is really a tool that can be used for the serious planner who loves to plan every detail of every week. And, to the other end of the spectrum, which is they planned 3 nights or they planned 1 night and they're just getting started with meal planning. You can utilize it in so many different ways. It's a really robust program because there's so many features. But the basics of it is recipes, planner, shopping list. It can be really that simple too.
Yeah, it's very elegant. It's it's a simple elegance with that. And my youngest are in kindergarten, so I've got a lot of years of meal planning, but my oldest just graduated college and she's out on her own. And so this was one of my Christmas gifts to her. And she uses it regularly because she was used to using it at home. And now she's got her own to use. And now we're friends on Plan to Eat. So she's, Mom, where's that recipe I liked? So it's fun to see her doing that.
Buddy.
What's that?
She's your meal planning buddy.
She is my meal planning buddy. I'm fortunate. I think I've got like 26 or 27 friends in there. So yeah, I've got quite a few and I'm always looking for more. So, well, one thing that I ask every guest as we wrap up, it's a fun question. I'm a gadget girl. So my question is, what is your favorite time-saving gadget, system, or tool? And you cannot say Plan to Eat.
Okay, so, I was actually hesitant to talk about grocery delivery earlier because I knew you were going to ask me this question, and that is my number one favorite time-saving tool. It's the grocery pickup. So you send the groceries to the store and you pick them up, and that saves me the hour and a half of shopping and checking out and driving home. I can usually integrate it into a busy day. I just pop in and it's a 15-minute thing. Like I pop in, I tell them I'm there, they bring the groceries out, and I go. It is so helpful. I know there are times when I really, want to be in the store and want to pick out my produce and all of those kinds of things, which I know can be a downfall for some people to the grocery pickup. But I think as a really busy mom who's juggling a lot of things, that's something that I have to put to the side because I just know myself, like I just need to save the time, and grocery delivery or pickup really helps me with that.
Yeah. But even within that, I have learned if I put notes in there and say, like, I need yellow bananas and not green bananas, they'll take the time to look for what I'm looking for. So, so I just lean on being overly instructive when it comes to produce.
That's super helpful. It is.
Yeah. So, well, how can people learn more about Plan to Eat?
Absolutely. So you actually have a special offer for all of your listeners. We offer a 30-day free trial to anyone who comes to Plan to Eat. But for your listeners, they can have a 45-day trial, get a little bit of extra time playing with the program. And to access that, you go to planteat.com/hi/this mom knows. And hopefully we can link that in the show notes.
I will put a link. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And we would love for people to try it out. We have a great support team. So if you're trying it out and you have questions, please contact us. We'll get back to you within about 12 hours and maybe less. And we'll help you get up and running. So.
Yes. And if any of you do sign up, let me know and we can be friends and share recipes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. That little tribe within your listenership.
That's right. Well, Riley, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing all this great information with us.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.